Hi, my name is Carrie House. I'm your LexisNexis representative. I graduated from the University of Houston Law School in 2013 and worked in probate, estate planning, and tax for about 5 years. My first two degrees were from tech, so when the opportunity to come back to Texas Tech as your Lexis representative came up, I jumped on it. My goal today is to provide you with a high-level overview of LexisNexis' citator, Shepards. Citators in general and Shepards are important for you to know about and to make sure that you use to ensure you're citing to good law. With Shepards, it also ensures that your research is complete. To kick off our training today, let's watch a real-world example of Shepards in practice. This clip is taken from the O.J. Simpson trial.
We have no newly discovered facts with respect to the motion for reconsideration of Laura McKinney.
But doesn't the case law dealing with that particular code section include criminal cases? If you Shepardize that, you come up with some criminal cases.
We did. I believe that none were found, Your Honor. We don't have any in our motion, which leads me to believe that no, there aren't any criminal cases under that section. And you asked me that question because you knew Ms. Lewis wrote this motion. But no, as far as I know, there are no criminal law cases that involve that section because it's not recognized in criminal law. So, I mean, at least in theory, we didn't have to have all the argument. But
So if my Pepperdine law clerks found some,
did they? Criminal cases? And what do they say? Okay.
there's a rule in the civil procedure for reading of sanctions.
There's a rule in the civil procedure that if
Just an aside.
motion for reconsideration is the subject of sanctions. Just an aside.
So, please, don't ever be Marcia. Make sure that you are Shepardizing. A little history on Shepards. It has been around a long time. It started way back in the 1870s with a guy named Frank Shepard going firm to firm on his horse and buggy with what today would look like a post-it note to mark bad law. So, biggest takeaway today is I want to make sure that you know how to cite good law. So anything that you're handing over to your professor or a judge someday or a supervising attorney is good law. So let's start with getting our daily research points, and I'll give you a moment to log into Lexis Advance. If you don't know about points, come by our weekly tables. They're easy to get. 350 points is equal to $5 in gift cards. So starting with me on Lexis Advance, we're going to type in a citation. It's going to be 22 F3D 736. So if we just type the citation, spaces aren't needed, into the search bar and click search, it should take us directly to our case. This is going to take us to the United States versus Lee case. So as a reminder, where we'd go to get a nice high-level overview of this case is the go-to menu and drop down to case summaries. This is going to give you where the case has been, the key facts, the issues discussed in the outcome. Directly under is the LexisNexis headnotes. These are verbatim taken from the court's opinion and summaries of the law discussed that was material to the case. So for later, just want you to remember headnote 1. You'll see over here on the right-hand side is your Shepard summary. Each symbol, if you scroll over it, tells you the treatment. So what the Shepard summary is in Shepards is the cases that cite to your case and the treatment of it. So here for ours, we see a red stop sign. So normally red means bad law, avoid it. Not necessarily in your case for a couple of reasons. The first is, imagine a case like Roe versus Wade with multiple issues of law discussed. Some of those points of law were upheld and some points of law were overturned. So it might not be bad law for you if your point of law that you want to cite to is not overturned. Another reason that it might not be bad for you and good law still is it might be not in your jurisdiction, so not binding in your jurisdiction. It would still be persuasive but not binding. So for the purposes of time, the holding that we are concerned with is that theft from a person is not a violent felony. So let's Shepardize to see if our holding is still good law. To Shepardize, you simply click on Shepardize this document or the Shepard signal. First, want to walk you through the Shepard's report. At the very bottom, you'll see a legend. So we've covered red. For statutes, the same is the stop sign, but it's going to look like this, but it means the same. So questioned or cautioned, this is still good law, but a portion has been questioned or distinguished or criticized. This is where I would go to look for good counter arguments. Positive treatment, we do it a little different than everybody else. Instead of just indicated that a case is cited to it or it's not negative, this is a true positive, meaning that a court has affirmed or followed a portion of your case that you Shepardized. And then down here blue, this is if it is cited to it. This is if there's some example provided with it, and this is merely just cited to. So it automatically is going to default to list view. If we go here, I want to show you grid view. This bottom gives you analysis by date. So your Shepard signal chronologically on the bottom. And then up here up top is analysis by court. I like this because I can clearly see now that this negative treatment or warning treatment is in the 7th Circuit. So already this isn't binding law for me in Texas since we are bound by the 5th Circuit. Going back to our Shepard's report and this full list view, you can see on the left-hand side there's different ways to narrow this or filter by one or multiple. Walking through these, appellate history. So appellate history is going to give you the history. So here we can see that there's not subsequent appellate history for this case. If there was, it would show up here in this view, and then you can also look at it in map view. Citing decisions, again, this is the list of the cases that cite to your case and their treatment of it. Other citing sources, this is a good place to find other additional information and resources to use as support in your memos. This is going to list other sources than cases and other content that have cited to your case, such as statutes, codes, regulations, treatises, articles. And table of authorities, this is a bibliography of the cases that your Shepardized case cites to. So analysis, this is Shepard's treatment. You can narrow by analysis. You can narrow by court. You can narrow by publication status. So for publication status, not all cases are selected to be published for many different reasons. If it's not reported, then it's not binding, but it can still be used as persuasive authority. And also in those unreported cases, sometimes you can find good facts that are aligned with your fact pattern that you have that do cite to binding authority. So wouldn't completely recommend ignoring it, but just remember that binding law is going to be those reported cases. Discussion, this is the level that your case has been discussed. So it's not necessarily your point of law, but the entire case. So cited at the bottom is going to be just it's been cited. Mentioned is going to be a paragraph. Discussed is going to be more in-depth, and analyzed is probably going to be a page or over a page. Word of caution here, wouldn't avoid these at least mentioned or cited to, because this 2 little bars might be discussing your point of law, and judges can say a lot in a few words. You can also filter by headnote. So remember headnote 1 from earlier. So let's click on headnote 1 now. And we can already see this pulls up just the cases that are discussing that point of law. And here we can already see by paying that we have a good place to go back and look for counter arguments. So to clear any of your filters, you can X out of them and keep some of them, or just clear all of them. You can also search within results. So search for specific terms within your list, and also by timeline. So for our purposes in our analysis today, we're going to filter by overruled in part and see the case that's generating that red stop sign. So it takes us to United States versus Howes. Well, I can already tell, since there's multiple Shepard signals, a portion that follows it and a portion that's overruled, that my whole case isn't bad. So let's see if our holding is still valid. Simply by clicking on this hyperlink will take you directly to that portion of the case that discusses it. For the purposes of time, today, I'll bring your attention to this last paragraph. And so reading through that very quickly, we can tell that our holding, if we're in the Seventh Circuit, is no longer good law because this circuit overrules it and holds that theft from a person is a violent felony. So now, going back to our Shepard's report, I want to clear that filter. I want to find some cases that I can use in support of my argument. So again, we have this true followed by, so filtering here gives us cases that have followed ours, so this is a good place to find additional support for our argument that we're making. And the other place again that you can find additional support and information is this other citing sources. So we will clear out of that. You can also Shepardize more than just cases. Anything with the Shepard signal by it, you can Shepardize, like statutes, codes, and regulations. So let's type in a statute example here. So going back just to the red search bar, this one's going to be from the Texas Property Code relating to abandonment of personal property. So Texas Property Code, section 72.101, and we'll search for that. So we can see here that there's not negative treatment of the statute because we don't have a red stop sign by it. I want to let you know that you don't only Shepardize if there's a red stop sign. You can always Shepardize anything that's cited or positive too to find additional support for your argument or point of law that you're discussing. So here, Shepardizing this document, we'll run a Shepard's report for the statute. And we can also see that there's pending legislation. So this is something that you would want to set an alert for to see if that legislation is changing. You can also set an alert for your Shepard's report. That'll immediately let you know and notify you of any new cases that are citing to your case that you Shepardized. Our upcoming tables this week will discuss how to set alerts, so be sure to stop by. We'll also be discussing Shepardizing in more detail. So I hope that at least walking away after watching this video that you feel confident in how to know that you're citing to good law. Don't ever be Marcia. She would have saved her the embarrassment and time if she just would have Shepardized, so make sure that you are never Marcia and always citing to good law, either using Shepard's or Westlaw's version, which is called KeyCite. Thank you so much.